I don't know anything about Berserk other than the fact I like the statues and I like the characters. So you know what I did for you guys? I woke up at 1 a.m. this morning and I said, let's do it. Let's go watch some Berserk on Netflix. So now I still know absolutely nothing about this guy. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Mr. X. This is the Extreme Channel. We're doing a few giveaways before we get started. First, sometime during this video, make sure you throw a comment down below. Anybody who comments gets entered into a monthly drawing where you can win a prize shipped to your house. And that drawing video actually launches tomorrow. Also, on our road to 20,000 subs, we are giving out this Mortal Kombat statue at 12,500 subs. All you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, and you've hit that bell notification and stay tuned for that giveaway. So today we're looking at this piece I just got, which I actually purchased before and then canceled and then got him again. We're going to come back to that. By Prime One Studios, that's the manufacturer. This is Guts armor from the Berserk series. So Berserk is a Japanese, I believe it's Japanese anime. And I just watched my first, I would call it maybe an episode last night. It was about an hour and a half long, and I loved it. It was actually really good. It didn't address a lot of the things with this statue. This is actually my second statue from this series. I also own this guy right here. This is their Bloody Guts. So it's the same character, but he doesn't have the armor on, and he's really bloody. He is at my office. And I actually had this guy on order along with him, and that was all I was going to get quite a while ago. But everybody who was receiving him months and months ago was receiving him broken, and shipping was really expensive on him, which I didn't understand until I unboxed it. So I decided to cancel it. I got all my money back, and I had regrets ever since then. Especially recently because Gem Mint launched a review video on him, and I was really taken back. Now that I have him in hand, we're going to find out if I'm happy by doing an extreme review. But before we get started, a little bit of basic info. Now this character here, Guts, he's one of the main protagonists in the series, in the Berserk series. And as you can see here, we're going to talk about concept on this statue. He is fully armored out. Not only do I have the Bloody Guts at the office, but I have a few other pieces on order from this line. And watching that series at 1 in the morning did not help. It makes me want to order a whole bunch more, which we'll talk about in a later episode. But some background information on this guy. He is 1/4 scale. Prime One Studios actually made 1,500 of these. 1,000 are the collector's edition, which is what this is, that retailed for $1,000. Or you could get the exclusive, which they made 500 of those, which has an additional portrait we'll look at during design. And we'll talk about value for this statue for sure, but let's start with the traditional concept of this piece. So when it comes to this guy, as I said, I don't know the source material that well, so I can't tell if it's accurate or not. I don't even know what a lot of the things on this piece are or they called. So at the bottom, you have a sub base here that's interesting. I don't know if it's needed. I sometimes wish that they would do a base with all just rocks, but there are some interesting symbols on this. You have the nameplate on the front, the symbol for the anime, and mine may be upside down because I don't even know it that well. But as you start to move up, you have some minions, is what I call them, that he actually killed, and he killed violently. The anime is, I'm glad I didn't watch it with my children because there is a lot of blood, there is some nudity, at least in the one that I saw. There is some swear words, so this is a really nasty, almost looks like a horror piece, but it's not. There's some other things going on the base, like that weird thing that's sticking out. We'll talk more about that during design. I don't even know what that is or where that goes. But as you move up, Guts is actually resting on a huge rock. And it's interesting here because this statue is so big. It is huge.
That's what she said.
And you have a few different positions. Guts is known for his sword that you see here. This giant, huge ass sword. He's known for that. That's what he's about. And he's sitting on top. There's blood of his enemies below. And some of the enemies are actually in the back of the statue. You'll see later in the review. And he is sitting there in his armor crouched over. Even with him crouched over, it makes this statue huge. His cape is flowing in the wind. Kind of, this is a victorious celebration showing the power of his sword, the power of him. And like I said, I know there's some type of transformation or something that allows him to get this armor, and I can't wait to find out what that is as I'm watching and or reading this stuff. But it looks cool. It's just a cool display of this statue. It's just a cool display of this character. And kind of a funny fact is, I actually, originally in the pictures, I like this one better than the one at my office. But when I have him in person, I actually like the one in my office better. I don't know what it is. I think the fact that maybe he's so victorious and he's crouching and he's not that big a part of the statue. I mean, realistically, size-wise, I think the base is bigger than he is, minus his cape. But concept, it really shows his power. He's a great warrior. It shows other things from the anime. And like I said, some of it, I don't even know what it is. So I think that was smart. So I think concept overall, it's a 4 out of 5 on this. But where I think some of the issues are with the design. And they weren't necessarily issues with the assembly, so let's check that out. Now here is the box, the art box. So not only is it a pretty cool art box, but it was rather big, and believe it or not, there are actually 2 different boxes. So you'll see that on the layers. So one box had essentially just the base, the cape, and then the rest had the majority of pieces, and as you can see, it was quite a few. So for that reason, assembly actually took longer than I thought it would. They did have your classic Prime 1 instructions, but we don't use them on this channel. Minion keyed in. Now with the minions, not only was there the body, but there were also other pieces such as a leg and an arm that also keyed in. So not only did you have to find the right spot, but you had to find the right direction for each of those. And these are the pieces, I'm not sure what they are, kind of these long jagged poles, almost like javelins. I assume I will hopefully find out later when I'm watching more of the series. And then he keyed in right to the top. And now I put his cape on first, but that created some issues getting the arms in. Even though I did look at the instructions at this point, and it did say the cape is supposed to go first, but I did find it easier to actually remove the cape. Also, a number of swords went into the bottom, smaller swords that I don't know if Guts used or they were just stabbed into the enemies. So it took a little bit to figure out which one goes where, and I still don't know if I have them in correctly. And then you had a third javelin that you almost have to put in before you put the minions, but I was still able to make it work along with the front faceplate. And then his portrait is 2 different pieces. So his head, where you can clearly see his lower jaw, and then kind of the lower jaw piece magnetizes on very easily. And I would speculate you could do it with and without. So here you're going to see that I actually had to remove the cape to get the arms in. That's where I had the issues, so that's why everything backed up right there. And then I actually put in the wrong arm. So as I was trying to figure out which sword, because you have 2 different swords because of the different display options we're going to look at in a second. I actually had to remove the arms multiple times, remove the cape, and it was just a beginner error trial thing. But eventually I was able to get it to work. So here are some design issues what I see. So the logo, you would think the nameplate goes in the front. Well, if you put it in the front, then he's facing off to the side. Kind of interesting to me. That's not traditional, but I can get over that. He has some switch outs for his portrait and his arms. Let's do the portrait first. Here is the collector's. This is what comes with all 1,500 statues. This is what I have. And then here's a stock photo of the exclusive. And I know you're thinking that looks exactly the same. I agree. That's why I clearly don't think this is an exclusive or bust. The other switch out is he can have his arm over his right shoulder. However, this greatly increases the height. I think this makes it like 37 inches tall. Or he can have both hands holding the sword with it hanging down right here. Now this, initially I thought would be the way to go for this piece, but I'm not liking this. So the other Guts that I have has very similar poses, and the sword actually sticks into some of the enemies, where here it appears, maybe I'm doing it wrong, but it looks like it's just hanging, and it was very difficult to get the hands into the sockets. So I don't like that. I think that's a design flaw. And as we talked about in concept, I think another big design flaw is when we have a character on a base and the base is bigger than the character, sometimes it's okay. It tells the story well. Sometimes it's great, actually. Sometimes it's not okay. I think this situation, it's not okay. Why did he have to be up so high? Why couldn't he have just been standing? Like, I know they wanted to do it different than the previous statue, but I'm not digging it. I'm not digging the fact that The main character is, let's even just measure how much room he takes up without his cape. So the overall height, I think, is around 30 inches or so. Yeah, right under 30 inches. And guts is 14 of that. So he's less than half of the height of this. And I know his cape is a little bit of an exception. And the diameter on this is right under 19 inches or so. So I think there's a lot of design issues with this. Not only that, but look at all the stuff going on in the back that you'll never see. I think this is one of the very few times that Prime 1 had some big design issues, and I'm going to give the design a 2 out of 5. A lot of things I'm not digging about this piece, especially when I think about the fact that shipping was so much more expensive than normal. We talked about that with the box. We're going to do a video paint and sculpt because this guy's really strange. It's different than we normally do. So we're not going to do the pictures, but I'm going to narrate over with some video and kind of jump around. So let's check that out. The Berserk symbol up front, not really a big deal. As I talked about, it's kind of weird that it's not at the front of him, if you see here. But this sub base right here, it's fine, looks good. I like the fact that they do have those dashes of red insinuating blood, and then whatever these symbols may mean. It really, especially on this one, isn't something that draws your attention. But as you move up and you look at these guys, and again, I don't know the name of them, they are just creepy as hell. And I like what they did. You know, you'd almost think there's too much red with all the blood and the skin tones, but it looks great. There's some good texture on there. You can see the veins, the musculature, and then as you get to the face, even just the mouth. I'm a little concerned, like this guy, it looks like he's biting on his tongue, so it almost looks like they tried to fill in his mouth, which I'm not a fan of. But if you go to the other ones, you see that's not the case. So clearly he was biting on his tongue. But these faces are just creepy as hell. They almost look a little comical more than evil. But teeth looks great. They have a little bit of a moist effect on there, and the blood dripping down. They just do a fantastic job with the blood. The blood on this actually I think is better than my one at the office. And the guts right here coming out, my son really liked that. And then even the armor. Check that out. So it's a lot of variances. You know, essentially the statue seems like it's red, gray, and black. The rocks on the bottom look fine. The big rock that he's standing on, I do like a lot of that. See the, again, a little bit of a moist effect to insinuate water, different shading on it. The texture could be a little bit better. And then here's another shot of another minion down here. And this is, as you see at the back, so more of a design thing, but you would technically would never see that unless this is a centerpiece. Boy needs a pedicure. But great anatomy on those, even though it's not human, it's humanoid. And I like everything that's going on. Paint and sculpt on this part though, we'll talk more about it in the rating, but it's good. It's just a lot going on. And then you move up to guts, and there's some things going on here that are kind of crazy. Let's look at the cape first, because the cape is awesome. It's really nice. Not only the sculpt, but the coloring on it. I love how the dirt and tattered at the bottom. It's a great flow on it, almost like the wind is blowing. And then looking at guts, the armor looks great. It really does. It's very plain though. It's just kind of layering of that same black, silver, gray color over and over. So there's not really a lot to be said or done there. It's more of a conceptual statue than focusing on the art of paint and sculpt. And with that being said, the paint and sculpt isn't bad. There's even tiny details. Check this out. Little latches right there. Or even the cloth from the hilt of the sword. And while you can't really see a lot of Guts' face in there, I think it's enough. You're more looking at the helmet, and it has kind of that dog type style. As I said, I haven't seen this part of it yet or read this, so I don't know where that comes into play, but I'm excited to get to that part. If I don't find it in the movies, I will definitely check it out with the books. So it's a weird statue to review for paint and sculpt, which is why I wanted to do the video, because this statue, like I said, is not necessarily about the paint and sculpt, but the paint and sculpt is done well. It's just different. As I said, I actually like my other Guts a lot better, and I think I like the paint and sculpt better on that one as well. Maybe because you see more, where the armor doesn't take up a lot. I love the cape on this. The base is okay, the armor's good, But I think traditionally on this channel, we rate the paint and sculpt separately, but I think they both fall into the same category. They're very good, which is a 3 out of 5. They're not great. They're not horrible. It's just very good. Not as good as a lot of the other ones that are coming out in this line. Or at least I hope not, because I have some coming. So let's talk about value on this. It's $1,000 plus a hefty shifting. It's $1,000, and traditionally a 1/4 scale piece ships for anywhere from $100 to $150. This one shipped for almost $300. So I think you're about $1,250, $1,300 all in if you live in the U.S. and you can nab them from Sideshow, which is what I did. But it's a little bit of a diorama too, so it's not just one character. You do have a lot going on. Most quarter scale pieces are 18 inches tall. This is 30 up to 37 inches tall. So you do get a lot. I think the value is right in the middle too. It's very good. It's not amazing. This guy's getting harder and harder to find too, because one of the things, you know, here where I live, a lot of people don't know who this character is, which ironically one of my employees knew who Guts was just yesterday because they saw the one I have in my office. But they seem highly sought after. So I think that's a good sign because the anime is popular worldwide. So overall, where do I rank this statue? I was really hoping this would be amazing. I was hoping this would blow away the piece I have. But honestly, it's just not blowing up my skirt. It's not a bad statue. It's very good. It's right in the middle. It's a 3 out of 5. I wish I could give it a higher ranking, but it's just not striking me as exciting as I thought it would be. So I'm really worried it's going to be the same trend with the rest of the Berserk pieces. I have a Nosferatu Zod in human form, in Apostle form. I have Femto coming. I want to pull the trigger on Void. I want to, after watching last night, I really want to get some of the other characters as well. Let me know in the comments about a statue you bought that even looking at it, you're just unsure of, because I think that's where I landed with this guy. But I do appreciate you guys watching. Check out some of these other pieces from Prime 1 Studios in the playlist, or hit that Mr. X logo to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. About 60% of you haven't. But otherwise, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.